Good evening and welcome to the Arundel Camera Club live stream for Wednesday, January 27th. My name is John Milliker and I'm the club president for the 2020-2021 season. The Arundel Camera Club was founded in 1957 and exists to promote the art, the science, and the education in all aspects and fields of photography. Normally, we meet at 7 p.m. every Wednesday evening during the school year in Severna Park, Maryland. However, with our current disruptions, we've decided to continue business as normal in a virtual space, which allows us to protect our members and guests from the current COVID-19 situation. The Arundel Camera Club was founded in 1957 and exists to promote the art, the science, and the education in all aspects and fields. We have a little bit of an echo. Let me see if I can fix that. Evening during the school year in Severna Park. I think we have that fixed. Thank you for pointing that out, Christine.
Welcome.
Normally we meet at 7 p.m. every Wednesday evening during the school year in Severna Park, Maryland. However, with the current disruptions, we've decided to continue business as normal in a virtual space, which allows us to protect our members and guests from the current COVID-19 situation. I think we have that little audio bug fixed. For more information about us, please visit www.arundelcameraclub.org. And now I'm going to turn it over to our programs chair for this year to talk about our upcoming schedule. Go ahead, Christine.
Hi, good evening. Next week on February 3rd is our talk and stream on our photo assignment from January, which is resolutions. The deadline was tonight by 6 p.m. If you have any really last minute ones and you want to get them in, they will not be put up in the Facebook thread to be voted on, but you can get them to me by next week at 6 p.m. On February the 10th is our program from Irene Sasolato on a passion for wildlife photography. On February 17th is our photo competition. The theme is close-up and macro. And then on February 24th, we have a program by David Loria on Washington, D.C., a photographer's paradise. Tonight, we have Howard Clark joining us and talking about, I'm sorry, I did not write this down, getting from good to great. And he is a professional photographer for over 55 years of experience with enthusiasts and professional level cameras. Landscape, scenics account for most of his images, and water appears in about 80% of those. He participates in 2 camera clubs and 2 art associations. He is a charter member of GCC, which started in 1973, and its only honorary member. For the first 7 years after his retirement in 2011, Howard and his wife participated in 10 to 12 weekend art fairs each year. Also, since retirement, he has exhibited photos in 28 different galleries around D.C. Solo exhibits account for 8 of the 28. Another solo exhibit is scheduled in March at Brookside Gardens. Let's welcome Howard to our thread for tonight.
Thank you, Christine. I appreciate the opportunity to be here, especially when I see the list of other speakers that you've had. That's quite a nice set that I saw on your screen now with the David Loria and Sausalito. Quite a good company that I'm in. I'm pleased to bring you the program tonight on getting from good to great. It's something that I worked on for quite a while, well over a year. Sorting out my ideas and getting them on a screen. Are we ready to share that screen?
Yes.
Okay. See if I can remember how. Share. All right. Is that working?
Not yet.
Let me have a moment here.
Sorry about that, everyone.
Yeah.
Want to welcome everyone to the thread, and we will get it going here momentarily.
Yes. Let's see, here we go. How about that?
Still nothing, Howard. On the screen where we are on our conference screen, go down to the left-hand side and do your share your screen button. You need to make sure that you click on your screen, and that share button should turn orange. And when you click that orange button, that's when it should all pop up.
Now, I have already clicked on the one at the bottom left.
Okay.
And I come to the share screen, and I clicked on the share screen. Oh, maybe I need to be in the middle of that picture, don't I?
Yes.
Ah, okay. Now we hit share. There we go.
Perfect. Now go back on over to your presentation screen and we'll have you also hit that hide button on the bottom. There we go. I
There
see
you
it.
go. Perfect.
Hide.
Right in the
That,
middle of your screen. Do you see where it says stop sharing?
yes. Oh,
To the
hide. There
right
it
of
is.
that, you're going to hide that and then go ahead and make your presentation full screen. And Christine
Okay.
will give you the thumbs up when we have you full screen. And we have you full screen. Go ahead when you're ready.
Wonderful. I told you my memory's good for 20 seconds. So we practiced a couple days ago. All right. We're talking about getting from good to great. Well, what's good and what's great? Uh, I'm going to say that when I have a whole bunch of pictures, sometimes I will decide to give them a rating. I consider a good rating of 3 is for a picture that does the job, something I'm happy to show friends or to post on the internet. Uh, and I have a fair number of those. Better, I consider a picture that deserves to be printed or entered in a competition. I worked pretty hard on that one to get it in shape for such a use. Great gets to be a very small number in any particular year. It's one of the best pictures I've ever produced. There might be only a few per year. What's the okay? The score of 2. That's I got a lot of them. They're inferior versions of number 3 usually. You take 30 pictures at a particular site, and 3 or 4 of them are good, and a lot of them are okay, and sometimes there's a poor one. I only keep them around if it's the only image of that particular subject. Otherwise, I got no use for them. So my plan tonight is identify and illustrate numerous elements, about 90 of them or so, that can make your pictures great, or maybe just awful. We'll see some examples of that. Your job, I hope, is to improve your batting average on the number of 4s and 5s that you get, lesser of 2s and 1s, by paying attention to those elements and learning to use them effectively. The first step that I want to take is to look at some of the image killers. We'll take a look at some disappointing pictures and see what mistakes were made. Were there technical issues? Were there compositional issues? Were there presentation issues? What's wrong with it? And then please stop making those mistakes. It's easy to do it, but remembering to not do it is not so easy. Here's an example. I had a friend who bought a new island, in fact, up in a big lake, and decided to show me how wonderful her island was. Well, I don't think too much of the picture. Uh, you, well, where's the subject? I don't find one. That's okay. Not every scene has a subject in it. It can be a magnificent scene and not have a particular subject. But the fact that the water's running out doesn't make it for good show. I don't see anything in focus anywhere. The sky is burned out up here, and the dark is terribly dark. There is a place to stand as you're viewing in the picture, and that's a good thing. Uh, there's sort of a barrier here on the left-hand side as a frame, but then you've got something poking in, a real bright spot that is an intrusion. More intrusions on the right-hand side. It's got an awful lot to not feel very good about. All right, another guy I hadn't seen in about 20 years decided he would send me a picture so I knew what he looked like these days. Well, I still don't know. Uh, some of you can immediately understand why. The photographer was standing back far enough to get not only all of the person, but all of the sky as well. You've got this big bright sky shining into the camera lens, and the camera says, oh boy, you got a lot of backlight there. I got to get this film so it looks, or sensor so it looks like it's a neutral gray image on the average, and neutral grays did come out pretty well, but there's no light on the guy's face. You just don't want to take a picture like that. Move in close so that he dominates the picture. Maybe use a flash to fill in the light on the face. Maybe use a reflector. Turn him someplace so he's not with the total back to the sun. A lot of things you can do to improve the picture, but that's sure not a good way to start. Competing subjects. Another thing that is a problem for photographers. You have two birds in the picture. Uh, it's a nice sharp picture. Gosh, can't complain with that. Beautiful colors. But do I look at this bird or is that my subject over there? How do you know? They compete with one another. They're both looking out of the frame. They're not interacting with one another at all. If one was pecking the other one on the head, then you could say, okay, we got two birds that are interacting. That's a subject. But this doesn't cut it. So competing subjects out. More competing subjects, only this time it's worse. Not only do we have two of them that are not interacting, but we have a whole lot of other trash in the picture. Look at the distractions here everywhere. Distractions, distractions. Huge open sky. Now, the guy did better with the sky to get the exposure right. Got to give him credit. He got a good exposure. But boy, all of this other trash that just doesn't relate to the birds. And they're not interacting with one another either. Bullseye, one of my favorite complaints. It's natural. You pick up a camera and you find a subject and you put it right smack in the middle, maybe just for focusing purposes. Good. But then tilt it down or move in closer so that the subjects dominate the picture. I cropped this picture and you can get something a whole lot better as if I had moved in closer. You still have a nice story to tell. You've got people over here in a class, I would guess. You can see where the people are staying and where they get on their ride up the mountainside. It's a good story. Two people who are there enjoying the ski session. It's wonderful. But don't take them in the middle of the picture and have a tremendous amount of sky that just doesn't contribute at all to the image. Cutoffs, another problem child that bothers me. There's one photographer in Gaithersburg Camera Club, and he has magnificent photographs of flowers. And they're all bullseyes, and they're all cut off on the edges. It just doesn't make sense that he would do that. You got a nice bird here, and it's sharp, eyes in focus, but cut off the beak, cut off the head, not a good thing. There's some bullseyes with cutoffs and with distractions. You got distractions up in the corner. You got a piece cut off over here, cut off there, just a little piece cut off over there. It wasn't intentional. It was an accident. Well, you got to look around the edges of the picture and make sure that everything's in you want in and everything's out that you do want out. So these are the things that trouble me. Whoa, what's this? I don't see any subject, that's for sure. It's just clutter. There's no composition to it. There are no leading lines. There's no curves of any consequence. Just a real disappointment. Exposure's not too bad, but that's terrible. Clutter, clutter, clutter. This one I will claim. There are two images here. Above this line, you got a nice building up in Canada, illuminated at night. And down below the building, you got another picture of the marina. But there's no relationship at all between the marina and the government building. They overlap one another, something terrible. Get up on the land over here and take a picture of the building, or stand up on the side over here and get a picture of the marina. But let's not have two things in one picture. They're unrelated to one another, just like having two birds. I got two subjects, the marina and the building. Bad. All right, what about this picture? I guess if you wanted to show folks what it's really like out in the plains these days, where we have some grain growing or getting started, and it just goes for miles and miles, and there's not much else to see. I guess it tells a story, but it's not anything anybody's going to want to put on their wall. at least a third of the picture has no content at all up here. Down here, you got the horizon line cutting the image in half. No subject of any consequence. There's a little bit of stuff over there, maybe a couple trees, but too much sky, no subject, cutting the horizon in half. Um, Mistakes to not make. Here's another one mistake that I will claim. In Japan, we got a really nice subject in here, a couple talking with one another. Got some foreground. I like foreground in a picture wherever I can. The foreground's in subject. The foreground's in focus, but the subject is not. That's not the way to do it. What a shame. I can't go back. Distracting backgrounds. Oh boy. There's a nice flower in there someplace, but far too much other stuff. Get in close. Get out the telephoto lens. Get out a macro lens, or crop it, which is what I did. But this is just too much stuff. And I think it could have done a little cleaning. Things like this spine might have been removed. Some other stuff like that. These things could have been removed. All right. Distracting background. Get in closer. I would say don't take pictures of ugly things or uninteresting subjects. This guy makes me want to throw up every time I see the inside of his gut hanging out there in space. Oh, it's just awful for me. Some people love it, but I I don't want it on the wall in my house. Over processing. Remember when the HDR software came out 15 years ago or something like that? Boy, that was the best thing that ever happened to photography. Man, you could get tremendous contrast, tremendous colors, beautiful, strong colors. Could you overdo it? Yeah, way overdo it. Just an awful example of over processing. But on the other side, you got to remember, if you take pictures in RAW, RAW is blah. This is the RAW type of image that you get with no corrections at all. You do need to have some corrections, some contrast. Look at the difference in intensity here relative to other parts of the flower than you have there. Adding the contrast is great. There's no background here that's a problem, but you get more color in the background after some processing. So inadequate processing is to be avoided also. Just the way it came out of the camera may not be the best presentation of it. And every camera has its own specified processing system that it uses all the time when it gives you a JPEG. And if 3 different cameras take up the same picture, you're going to have 3 different images because the manufacturers of those different cameras don't have the same biases applied. Here's another example of a scenic view. Bullseye for the in Paris, Eiffel Tower. But half of the picture is empty. That doesn't make any sense. Zoom in. Find some subject like the Eiffel Tower, or better yet, something down in here where you have not so much crappy sky. Lousy. So, reminding you, my plan is to identify and illustrate the elements. Your job is to improve the batting average by paying attention and learning to use them. Now, everybody thinks about composition. Yes, you got to have good composition, usually. And we all know about the rule of thirds. Well, that's an example of the rule of thirds. We're coming in from the side about a third of the way. We're coming down from the top about a third of the way, maybe a little bit more. Who cares? It's close. That's certainly an application of the rule of thirds on a picture. Here's another application of the rule of thirds. This is out at Grand Canyon, you can tell. Telltale signs here. The tower is a third of the way in the picture, and its center is about a third of the way down. You have a nice frame on the left-hand side that comes over across the top, frame on the right-hand side to keep you inside the picture. And there's something else about this that is particularly fond to me that I like. I like to have in landscape pictures a place for the viewer to stand. Right here, you can stand, and then you have a path that leads you into the picture and up here to the centerpiece that's the main subject of the picture. You got the sense of place from these things down here, but they're not distracting, they're adding to it by giving you the sense of place. So the rule of thirds works for landscapes. He's in a third of the way and down a third of the way. Works just fine. Abstracts. You can use the rule of third for abstracts. Here we are, up about a third of the way, maybe a quarter. Again, it doesn't matter precisely. Coming in, third of the way about. Concentric circles going around and around. Leading lines coming in from that corner, coming in from over here, coming in from the top, coming in from the sides, coming in from the, everything's pointing to this one central piece. And composition really works in here. Repetition of familiar items, a particular circle here, another one like it there, and another one like it there, and another one out here. And along the back here, repetition of familiar items, the same item repeated again and again. But the rule of thirds is key to that image. You're out in the garden. Put your subject third of the way in, third of the way down. Nice path that leads you from where you're standing. Jump the water and come right up here to the whatever the building's called. Okay. Rule of thirds for buildings. National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. Here's the window. Third of the way up, third of the way in. Leading lines all over the place. They're coming in from the corners. Up here, you have the lights, repetition of a particular item, one after the other, leading you into the picture. You know it's getting farther and farther away because it's getting smaller and smaller. The lines coming in from here, repetition of the arches along there, column, 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 repetition of one item after the other after the other. But rule of thirds is the basis for this picture. The rest sure contributes though. And use the rule of thirds on a truck. Look where the flag is. That's the special spot in the image. That's the cherry on the ice cream sundae. It's what grabs your attention. It finishes the picture. Think of that picture without the flag. It would just be a truck. But with a flag on there, all of a sudden, it's special. And the colors are good. It's a red and white flag on a red and white truck. But rule of thirds is not applicable to everything. Sometimes a building or a scene needs to be done symmetrically, especially formal buildings like the state capital of Texas or the national capital of DC. These kinds of buildings deserve to be shown in such a fashion. Same on both sides, symmetrical. But look what else we have. We've got leading lines coming in here from that corner. We've got a leading line coming in from this corner. We've got lights repeated coming in to the same spot, coming in on this side from the same spot. The tree line is coming in. Tree line over here is bringing you into the picture. All these things working together to bring you to one particular spot in the picture. And of course, you got the US flag and the Texas flag. The other thing to notice about this is the time of day. This isn't dark night. The sky is not black. This is the blue hour. And you have blue sky. Blue hour is after the sun sets and the night has not come yet. It gives you an opportunity to get photographs where the building lights, the illumination of the building is balanced beautifully with the lights in the sky. It's just a wonderful time of day to take pictures. So, my rule number one for landscapes, whenever you possibly can, give a place in the foreground for your viewer to stand. And you certainly saw that here and in all the other landscapes. I try to do it all the time. S-curves are critical in composition as well. They lead you through a picture. You're coming in here in the lower left corner, coming up along this side, going back to where? I don't know where. I wonder what's back there. You come along the side too. You're coming up along the hedge or the piece of the stones here around the corner, and it leads somewhere, but you don't know where. There's a piece sort of some mystery in this. You're led from the foreground where you can stand up around the curve and off into the distance. But you stopped there because this mound of dirt stops you. It doesn't lead you out of the picture, it stops you there. So think about that when you have an S curve or any kind of a line in the picture. Does it lead you out of the picture, or is it contained and stopped? Well, this is stopped. We got an interesting shape of a tree here. Now, here's the cherry in the picture. Put your thumb up and hold your thumb so that you can't see the person as you look at your screen. Wow, what a difference that picture has when the person is in it and when the person is not there. It's just amazing what difference it takes. So you have a nice S curve, hang around. Wait for somebody to go up. If nobody goes up, go up yourself. Take a time shot. Give yourself 10 seconds to get up there and take a picture of yourself. But put someone in it. You really need it for this particular kind of a photo. Leading lines, place to stand in the foreground, leading line to get you into the picture. It's an S curve, isn't it? There's an S curve. Tree out here on the right-hand side to keep you from wandering out of the picture. You got the main element a third of the way down, third of the way in. You're kind of trapped in the picture. Some nice foreground, lots of interest. More S curves. This is Constitution Gardens down in Washington, D.C. Look at the line coming in from the lower right corner and bringing you around. A beautiful S curve right along here. And up there's a little bit of cherry, not a very big one, but he's there. And of course, the Washington Monument is the reward for taking that path along here, and it leads you right to the monument. Wonderful. I come down and say, well, what's over here? Oh, I guess I can't go out of the picture there because I got a tree preventing me. And I come over there, and well, there's another tree and a little bit of stuff, but not terrible distraction. S curves are wonderful. Another S curve, leading lines. We got this main subject over here, and it leads you right to them, coming along the boardwalk, coming along this area here. It takes you right to the subject. It doesn't lead you out of the picture. All of these lines lead you into it. Coming in from this corner, coming in from this right corner, coming in over here. A lot of sky, but the sky is filled with this picture. You can't cut the sky out. All right, where do we go? Composition. We talked about S curves and circles, certainly. Here's a crescent curve. And the thing that's special about a crescent curve is that it frequently divides the world into two parts. You got water and you got land. Most of the crescent curves have different things on different sides. I don't know why that works that way, but it seems to. Maybe that's just a photographer's point of view. But they can lead you into the picture, lead you around the picture, bring them back through over here. It's interesting to have a crescent curve. Here's another crescent curve over in China. We know the sidewalk is coming in here. We've got plenty of place to stand. Ladies coming along, carrying her bucket, talking on the telephone. It's dividing, the curve is dividing the water plants from the soil plants. Two different worlds, water and soil. Crescent curves do it for you. It doesn't take you out of the picture. Oh my, a fence. Look at the fence line. Coming in from the lower left-hand corner, leads you right along. Running up here, the tree stops you. Doesn't let you run out. You got the road coming along, tree stops the road. Some more stuff over here, interesting. Way off in the distance. Not a distraction at all. Just, I think, adds to the beauty of the scene. Spirals, another composition tool. Spiral. Look at the flower here coming up out of the center, runs around, all around here, brings you along, back, down, 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 right back down again. Beautiful spiral. Interesting little hook up here at the top. And if you crop it, you might have something that falls apart. Oops, where's my next one? Ah, okay. I don't have notes tonight that I can see. Normally I have notes that would prevent me from doing that. But looking at that picture causes me to think of Robert Capa's favorite saying, if your pictures aren't good enough, you're not close enough. And he was a Hungarian war photographer with a 35mm lens. So when you're trying to get close to the war action, you're putting your life in death. In any case, try to get closer to the flower and look what you get. Now, actually, I think I probably just cropped the other image, but that's okay way to get closer. Still beautiful spirals, no distracting backgrounds at all. Spirals are wonderful. Now there's a bunch of spirals. These were created by the computer. There were nothing in here except for the ball. Every line in this picture was straight in the original image. But a little twist on the computer made it a spiral and added some color to it. But that's okay. More spirals, staircases, spiral staircase. Unfortunately, this one's a nice one over there if you have a chance. I never did. But staircases are wonderful for spirals. Of strong diagonal adds so much to the composition. Coming out of the corner here, leading you right along in the picture. Yeah, it'll lead you out too, but you're not going to stay out. You're going to come back and see where else you can go along the diagonal. Come up, coming across here, coming up this side. Strong color, strong diagonals, good composition, I think. Close enough. You wouldn't want to get more diagonals coming in, shooting down like this, and diagonals coming off the side all along, and then they come off the side. Everywhere you look, they've got another diagonal going off, and a little bit of snow just to give it something special, extra touch. And who cut off the bottom here? Oh, what an amateur. Yeah, that was years ago. More strong diagonals. This was over in Greece. Gaithersburg Camera Club was having a competition. Shadows. Wow. Can I ever find a shadow over there? We're sitting, on the road above the church, and there's another road down below the church because everything's stacked up on the side. I thought really the diagonals here made a fantastic picture. You wouldn't want to shoot it straight on. Oh God, terrible. Diagonals are the way to go. That reminds slogan of mine: never shoot the side of a barn. If you stand in front of a barn, like we were standing in front of the Texas State House, it's just a square thing. horizontal, they're not very interesting. But when you go to the corner of the barn and you see two sides of it, the side here and the side there, then you get a diagonal, you have much more interesting pieces instead of horizontal lines and vertical lines. It's a world of difference. More diagonals here coming, and crescent curve dividing the world into sky and land. Another crescent curve that divides the world. Repetition of elements. The fence repeats itself on. The curves is beautiful coming in from the corner, leading you up to the other corner. Put your thumb up again and or your hand so that you don't see the lamp. Without the lamp, boy, does that add a touch. And look where the lamp is. Third of the way into the picture, third of the way down. There he is. But diagonals are wonderful. More diagonals. Train station at night. Got the tracks leading you off out of the picture. Tracks again. Diagonals on the roof. We're looking at the side of, not facing square against the building, but looking at a corner. So you get lots of diagonals. You get the diagonals here on the roof. You got those diagonals on the roof. You got diagonals there, diagonals here, all over the place. This is United Airlines terminal at O'Hare Airport. It's 5 o'clock, 5 Friday evening. The diagonals are a wonderful part of the picture. I love that part. They take you off here in the distance to this vanishing point. Color is nice to have in it, reflected on the color. But where are the people? It's 5 or 6 o'clock, 5:30 or 6 o'clock at night. It was a long exposure. And anybody who was in the picture here is moving pretty quickly because they're close to you. The people down there are moving at the same place, but they're much farther away and they appear not to move as much. But the ones here didn't register at all. And down there they did. Incredible. The composition of leading lines are just great here. More leading lines, more repeating elements. Look at coming in out of here, right into the diagonal, taking it up to this place. Curve in here, another arch, another arch, another arch, another arch, repeating elements. Same guy, same guy, same guy, same guy, all leading you into the picture. You got a buoy and another buoy leading you into the picture. And of course, some other element just to let you know where you are. Leading lines, repeating elements. We got them again. The bridge coming across the river. Span, span, span. Repeating elements. Look at all the vertical lines coming along here. Pillar, pillar. Lines coming in diagonal across here. Nice reflections on the water. It's the blue hour, folks. Not sunset, not night. The blue hour. Colors are beautiful. The colors of your subject that are lit by incandescent lights or other floodlights are wonderfully done, and the sky is in beautiful blue to contrast with the other colors. Use the blue hour. Leading lines, repeating elements. Japan. You can just see them everywhere in here. Element, 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 all leading in, coming along. And we're on the diagonal again. We're not looking square at the building. We're looking at a diagonal. That's the way to go. Leading lines, repeating elements. They come in from this side. They come in from the top. They come in this way. They come in along the railings here. The tiles lead you up. And this time you get a prize. It's not leading you to nothing like the one at O'Hare Airport, which just there's nothing at the end of the trail. But this time you get a prize if you follow it. So repeating elements, the columns, columns, columns. Railings coming in, benches coming in, window, window, on the diagonal. More leading lines, repeating elements. Once again, put your thumb up so you can't see the guy. It's a dramatically different picture, not nearly as satisfactory as when he's in the picture, adding to it. And he's not quite in the third spot, but I buy it. Vanishing point down here. A lot of repeated elements, a lot of diagonals coming into that point. The floor comes in over here. Walkway from over there, I think, something like that. It's loaded with them. Leading lines, repeating elements. Once again, you got a prize at the end. All the columns and the bars along here in the way, these leading lines coming in. You notice I'm standing not in the center. I don't want to ever stand in the center. I want to get to the side, a little bit to the side, because that's when you get the difference between the two. It's really no good reason that I can see to do a symmetrical view of something like this. It's much more interesting from the side. I got this angle. I got this angle. I get many more angles than if you stand in the middle. Here's a case of leading lines, okay, but you have some tension because you have nice curved lines coming in here, along there, and coming in along the floor. And they lead you over here and suddenly stop. We've got these vertical lines. You don't go there. Your eye doesn't go there. Maybe I should have gotten rid of that. Little cherry over here, something extra in the picture for you to look at, get your attention. You want to have something to hang your eye on. All right, composition, frames. If you can have a frame around your subject, it certainly helps. The guy walking down the airport there all by himself, he was on the right-hand side. Wasn't he well framed by all of the things up over his head on the left hand? But here we have one of the missions in San Antonio. You got a place to stand. You got a path that'll lead you up into the sweet spot here. But the door frame on the side here gives us a gorgeous frame. And look where we are with the roof. Third of the way in, third of the way over. Diagonals coming out of here, diagonals coming in here, repetition of form, the arches repeating one another. There's a lot of things going for this picture. Frames, kind of the cherry blossoms. Well, that's got a frame, all right, coming right across here and framing the cherry blossoms memorial. Some diagonal. You might say, oh, it's going to lead you out of the picture. Well, not really. You just get there and you follow it over this way. It doesn't take you out of the picture. Tree stops it. More frames. Mount Desert Island, or Desert Island in Maine, Acadia National Park, one of the lakes. I got foreground, providing a frame and filling the sky. Otherwise, you might have a lot of empty sky, but these guys help fill the sky and can give you depth in the picture. That's one of the main things that you get here is depth. When the leading lines really produce depth, it's the incredible function of those leading lines that you saw in all the previous pictures. So you got foreground here, place to stand. You got lake in the middle, some trees and shore things over there, further back, and a mountain behind it all. I like frames. All right, I got another rule. Foregrounds make landscapes. Backgrounds kill close-ups. You got a crummy background, I don't care what kind of flower you put in front of it, but it's not going to do well. Foregrounds make landscapes, backgrounds kill close-ups. Where's the foreground here? I don't like this picture. It's a nice place, but there's no place to stand. You're just hanging in space, hoping that you don't fall on the trees that must be underneath you there. I feel very uncomfortable looking at this picture because I don't have nothing to lean on, nothing to stand on. I just don't like it. You right ought to have someplace to stand for your close-ups, for your landscapes rather. Need foreground. This doesn't have it. These are just things stuck in the picture. There's foreground right here. Philadelphia Japanese garden, I think. And we have a nice frame. Still frames, still foreground. Centerpiece, a third of the, well, that's kind of in the middle. It's all right. He's okay in the middle. Three Sisters Mountains over at the state of Oregon, someplace. Hood, Oregon. Triplet of trees. Much rather have triplets than doubles. Foreground, place to stand. So you have your foreground with the trees, some stuff here in the middle ground, and the mountains in the background. Gives you a lot of depth for your photos when you can have all those elements. Paths. I just love paths that lead you into a picture and not out of it, but into it. Wintertime, this was at Snowmageddon in 2010. When I was walking through there, the snow was up to my pockets. This is late in the day. You have pretty sunset or sunset lighting, long shadows, nice tones in the snow. Colors aren't washed out, but the path leads you into the picture. Around here, kind of an S curve, and now you say, where does it go? What's around the path? That's a little bit of a mystery, and mysteries are good. The fence is somewhere around here. Where does it go? You must be able to go there because the path it went. So mystery is, I think, a benefit to a picture. It makes you think about it, makes you talk about it. The longer you can keep a person's attention, the better you're doing. Another path coming across from the lower left corner. Oh, it's an S curve, of course, leading you up here, not out of the picture, just up to another part of the picture. Pretty interesting things in the foreground to give you depth. Certainly creates the depth in the picture. You got heavy foreground like this and a way of getting to the background. More paths. It's on Mount Rainier, and you come walking along the path here and follow it through the valley, through the meadow, get up over the hill, and now you got to decide, where do I go? I can turn left and go that way along that path, or I could turn to the right and go this way along the path. You don't know where it's going to go. Which way you want to go? So you have something to think about. Gee, I wonder which way the photographer did go, or the hikers went. And you got balance in this picture. You got big, heavy thing over here, and way off on the side, another one to balance it. So not all of the weight is here. A good bunch of the weight is over there, but it's a longer fulcrum. So we'll look at the composition a little bit. The rule of thirds is when you apply the rule of thirds, you do it by aiming your camera so that your subject is a certain place in the frame that you're looking at, in your frame. You got a frame and we're just subject in that frame. You find an S curve. And to portray the S curve, you've got to select your position, not just where the subject is. This is a three-dimensional thing, this S curve. It has depth to it. So you got to decide where you want to stand. You got a crescent curve. You've got to decide where you want to stand so that that crescent curve might start in the corner. It might start on another corner. Pick it where you want to start. But you've got to decide where to stand to get that crescent curve working for you in the composition. You see spirals. Okay, where's the spiral going to start? Where's the spiral going to stop? You've got to aim carefully and move to where you want that spiral to fit in your picture. Do I want a big wide view? Do I want a little narrower view? Up to you, but you got to decide where to stand to get that nice spiral in the picture. Diagonal lines, where you going to be to get the diagonal lines. Leading lines, where you going to stand. Frames, select your position. How close to the door frame do you want to be? How far back do you want to be? The mouth of a cave. Okay, how close to the front of the cave do you want to be, or how far back into the cave do you want to be? Paths. You got to decide where you're going to stand relative to the path. So composition has a lot of elements to it, and only one of them is really, two maybe, dependent on where you aim the camera. The rest is on where you stand. And remember, Ansel said it, a good photograph is knowing where to stand. Memorize it. A good photograph is knowing where to stand. Take a break. What time is it?
It is 7:51.
51, huh? Okay. There's an opportunity here for questions. I'm going to grab a little bit of coffee. I'm not going anywhere. So if you have some questions, we can do it. Let me know when the 5 minutes are up and we'll just move on. But for the moment, I'm here to answer questions and have a cup of coffee.
Okay. During your talk, Julie asked how you feel about birds in black and white format.
If you like the picture in black and white, it's your picture. You do it any way you want. You make your pictures, interpret them any way you want. Don't worry about what somebody else thinks. Do yours. Find your own way.
And Jackie stated that she liked your comment about something to hang your eye on.
Amen. Thank you. Yep. I just love that cherry in the picture. I never know what the cherry is going to be, but it's nice to have one. You have a large area that zooms. You're looking around, looking around, looking around. What grabs you? What makes you stop? That's what you got to have. Something to make you stop from just wandering in the picture.
Yeah, you always need something to hang your eyes on. Exactly.
Yeah, a hook. Some people call them a hook.
Exactly. Doesn't look like we have any other questions right now.
Okay.
But I'm sure there'll be more as we go along.
Oh, I bet. Now we're doing pretty well on time.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready to go. If you're ready to go, it's not 5 minutes, but
Yeah, let's keep going.
Okay. Next, what additional visible elements can strengthen your picture besides curves and diagonals and things like that? Simplicity is a visible element. This is a very simple picture, and it's a very strong picture. It's got gorgeous color. It's got a nice diagonal even, but it's simple. No background, no distractions, a couple little droplets of water. It was raining that day. There was a tulip in a garden and under a tree, actually, under a tree. And I put my black briefcase behind it and photographed it, and came out pretty well. Simplicity. This is a hat. Hat belonged to the guy who was driving the boat in China up the Three Rivers, Three Gorge Dam, and lending us up one of the little tributaries that lead into that. But it's such a simple picture, and yet there's so much detail. But it's just a hat. I love it. Simplicity, a spiral. Spiral, beautiful colors, beautiful reflections. but simple, laying on sand. Now, simplicity is one of the things that can contribute to a nice picture, a good picture, a great picture. But there are other external factors. What time of day did you take the picture, or do you want to take the picture? What's the weather going to be like? What location are you in? A city, a swamp, a boat, a field, a church? What position are you going to be in? You're going to be standing up, kneeling down, up on the 23rd floor of a hotel, in a car, on a bridge, on your belly? What kind of subject are you dealing with? I, I do most of my stuff on landscapes, scenics, plants, yes, not many mammals or birds or insects. I'm mostly a landscape guy. Equipment. What are you going to have? If you don't have a tripod, you better not hold the camera steady. How many lenses? What lenses do you need to do your job? Do you need a polarizer? Probably. We'll look at some examples. Time of day, sunrise. I don't see many of them. I'm a night person. But this one was down on the Blue Ridge Parkway. We were driving along around 5 o'clock one day, and I tried to watch on the eastern side of the road to see where I might have a pullout. And we stayed in the hotel, went back there in the early morning, and I was ready for the sun when it came up. Sunrise again. This is the sunflower fields that you probably aren't familiar with. These are along the Potomac River, north of Washington by maybe 25, 30 miles. But the Maryland State Department of Agriculture or something, one of those natural something or others, plant these sunflowers every year, and they have huge fields, enormous things, go for hundreds of yards. And nobody uses them, sunflowers. They just dry up and go spread the ground, unspread seeds. But then the birds come. And guess what? They sell hunting licenses. So planting sunflowers reaps hunting licenses. Time of day, sunrise. Good time of day to be out taking pictures. This was over at Bombay Hook National Wildlife Refuge. I was hoping to find wildlife, hoping to find birds. There weren't any. So I'm a landscape guy. I'll find something. And if you notice, there's a nice little S curve coming along through here. Zips up, over there, up, around again and out. Where's the main element of the picture? A third of the way in, a third of the way down. Look at the backlighting on these weeds. The backlight makes them glow. That's what backlighting is wonderful for. This one down here is glowing because of some backlight on it. Sunrise. What more can I say? Right place, right time. All right. One thing you want to might have noticed is that none of those sunrise photos has a subject. None of them. And I think that's okay. These are grand landscapes. They are there to be enjoyed for their rich colors, their fine details. You don't have to have a subject. Not for me. You might have a judge that thinks you do, but I don't. So, do we have another slogan though? Average light produces average pictures. You don't get average light at sunrise. You don't get average light at sunset. You don't get average light in the foggy day. You don't get it in the middle of a snowstorm. Try to find the other kinds of light. I was doing a class recently, very recently, and we were talking about light and how flat, uniform light looks on a subject is really disappointing. It's just flat, not a whole lot of color, no shadows. So I wanted to show them what it is like if you have a directional light on this. And I brought a flashlight out and set the flashlight on a table, sweeping across. Whoa, isn't that different? Light illuminates things. You can see them because of the light that's there. It illuminates them. But the shadows define them. You get much better feeling for the shape of the piece with the shadows. And since I was doing that, I thought, well, I got one kind of middle exposure, and I got one that's really pretty high exposure. Well, what if I did an HDR? So I did, and that turned out to be a shock. Look at the HDR. Where did all of this stuff come from? Man, I don't know. I didn't color it at all. It's just there somehow. I don't know. But a little experiment sometimes produces an interesting result. That's all I can say. Transmitted light, backlight coming through your subject is gorgeous. Simplicity, color, diagonals, curves. They're all in this one single picture. Triangle. Triangles are good. Backlight, transmitted. Low point of view. I'm under the tree, inside the tree. That was done 5 years ago, and I didn't like the house behind me, so I went back in October of this year, November, and did it again without with the house hidden by the leaves. Turned out a much better picture, but this is pretty good. Transmitted light is wonderful. Backlight produces silhouettes. Isn't that nice? Talk about a simple picture, huh? A tree, rocks, two people. That's all. It's all it is. Simplicity, a story. You know there's a story here. Look at the backlighting on her arm, on her shoulder, on the rocks here. Backlighting with shadows. How you get shadows? Yeah, stand behind something. Little action. Time of day. Sunrise. We talked about being important. This was up in Acadia National Park. It is absolutely an HDR. These rocks are in total shade. There's just no light on them other than the blue skylight. And he's in full bright sunlight from the sunrise. Everything in here, variety. But sunrise gives you fantastic pictures. I just wish I could get up and do it more often. Sunrise, time of day. Jefferson Memorial, cherry blossom time. See the Capitol in the background over here. Sky's becoming blue. Where'd you get the light on the cherry blossoms? Flash. Oh, where's the memorial? Oh, it's a third of the way in, maybe a quarter of the way. Sunrise. Where's the statue? Third of the way up, third of the way in. Memorial, Washington Monument, Capitol. Sunrise. Nag's Head. Look at the diagonals. 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 Repetition, repetition, repetition of patterns. Beautiful color in the sky. Sky is really blue. It's really kind of just still blue hour. Just ahead, just after the sunrise. Here's a picture that was taken at sunset along Skyline Drive, Shenandoah National Park. And I'm standing around with my big boy camera and a big tripod and a big um, backpack on my back full of lenses and such. So when I planted myself at a resort somewhat right outside their dining room, it drew a crowd. There must have been 15 people standing there with their uh, either point and shoots or telephones taking the same picture that I was. And as soon as that sun dropped below the horizon, they were gone. It was over. The show was over. They were going to go running into the restaurant and get their dinner. I didn't. When that sun goes down, hang around. The show is not over. Look what they missed. Just a few minutes later, they all missed it. Up in Gettysburg, up on top of Little Round Top, we got the cannon. We got certainly not a mountain back there, but well, they are in the distance. In any case, the sun is about to set. Got some nice streamers coming out of there. Tried to get lots of depth of field. But if you walked away, you missed that. Look at the beautiful sky. So much nicer. And now we can see details down in here. Nice reflections off the pavement, the colors down in here. I think it's a whole lot nicer picture. Just hang around. Don't go away when the sun goes away. Down in Florida, at the beach, sun's gone, sky's still red. Beautiful. Pentagon, where the memorial is for the people who lost their lives in that accident. Not accident. When the airplane ran into it. Hardly an accident. But beautiful sky. Golden hour is when you got the blue hour. Comes later. This is out in the Great Smoky Mountains, the highest point. Blue hour. You might say, no, it's still got a lot of red in the sky. Well, there's some red in the sky way off in the left in the horizon, but look what color the water is. The sky is blue, illuminating the color of the water. And look what we have again, repeating pattern again and again and again. It gives you, so that's beautiful depth and nice diagonals. Repeating pattern, diagonals, blue hour, makes a good formula. Blue hour. This is Baltimore's Inner Harbor. Beautiful balance between the colors of the buildings, which are illuminated now. Lights are all on. Lights are on over here at the dock. Got a place to stand, you know. We're not walking on water to take the picture. We know we got a dock here. Go for blue hour. Just gorgeous. Another blue hour. This is up in Gettysburg. Simple picture. The moon, a tree, a little tree, a memorial, and grass. Little diagonal here. Little. That was a super moon that night. Blue hour is wonderful. This is blue hour. Really. That's in Sedona. And I think it's quite interesting to compare these structures on the earth with the structures that constructed by people who are around there. What a difference. But this is the blue hour. Sun was gone. You can take pictures at night. I did. This is in Germany. This is a formal subject, Brandenburg Gate. It deserves formal presentation. It deserves horizontal lines, vertical lines. It is formal. It still has depth. Look at the depth that you get just by looking at the columns here. Seeing that, seeing these, you know it's got depth. You can see the front of the piece, and it goes to the background, and the lines giving you depth in there. So getting some depth up in here. And of course, way in the background you have it, and lights repeating along the way. Repetition of lights give you the depth. You've got some angles coming in from the left, angles coming in from the right. Place to stand, of course. Nighttime is wonderful for pictures. China. Bet you didn't expect China to look like that. We're not shooting the barn on the front. We're shooting the barn on the corner. We got one side here, and we got one side there. Going down the street here. A lot of depth. Look at all the diagonals in this picture, leading you, leading you, leading you. Diagonals give you depth. At night, more nighttime pictures. Diagonals. Wide angle lens right up close to the engine. It gives you depth. Repeating pattern. A light, a light, a light, a light, a light, a light. Signs. A little cherry here. Guy waiting for his phone for the next train. Nighttime again. No color here. This one's in black and white. It is a state capital, but this is the back side of the state capital. This is not the formal side. Look at the informality here. We got stairs going every which way. We've got angles and curves and everything's, it's beautiful architecture. Just beautiful architecture, I think. It's so nice to follow these lines around, see where they go. I wonder where that goes. It's a little something of a mystery over there. And yet, you know, you can walk over here and you can go up this stairway and you can go up that stairway and you can get up into there. It's nice at night. Even in the woods at night, there's barely any light in the sky here. But it sure gives a different view of the landscape. I'm trying to see if I can see any lights down here in the city. I don't. Timing your shot. That can make a significant difference in the quality of your picture. You ever Cartier-Bresson, the decisive moment he talks about? We got one here. This is a, I don't know, you guys on the Eastern Shore or closer to the Eastern Shore can tell me, or Western Shore, I guess you're on, what kind of a bird it is. But he walks along the edge of the water looking for crabs, and he found this one, but the crab wasn't oriented properly. He didn't want to swallow it that way. So he had to throw it up in the air and then catch it after it had turned around and got to the right orientation so he could swallow it. But the timing had to be just right. So timing can make a huge difference. If he's got it in his mouth and chewing on it, that's much less interesting than if it's in the air unattached to anything. Well, I got another slogan. Off on a different subject now. Bad weather makes for good pictures, or enables good pictures. It doesn't necessarily make them, but it enables them. Fog is just wonderful for pictures. Oh, I love fog. We got a nice diagonal coming in here from the corner, leading us into the picture, going back to nowhere. We don't know where it is, but the tree is here, balancing all of the weight from this side of the picture. We got heavy weight over here with this stone, and we got the tree balancing it on that side. Good balance. Environmental effects, fog. Look at how the fog gives you the clear demonstration of depth. This is close, this is sharp, the colors are good. Out there, it's some cases almost beyond recognition over in here. Yeah, I think there's trees back there, but you can't see them very well. You see these, the grass suddenly disappears into the fog over here. No detail in it. You got detail here, but out there, there's just no detail. Fog is wonderful. Another case with fog. But fog isn't the only element in this story. You've got it is a story. I should have said in this picture, because what you have is a real story. Here's two guys out fishing. This guy is sitting down. He's got a cap on. He's kind of holding up his rod on his knee. And this one's standing up, running the boat. Still got a rod. He's fishing too. You get sort of grandpa and grandson here. I see. I don't know if it was, but that's what I see. Beautiful spot in the picture. Fog off in the distance. Trees over on this side. Leading lines coming in. Nice reflections of the trees. It's just, I love the picture. But the environmental effect of the fog is wonderful. We went down to see the cherry blossoms one year. In sunrise, there was no sunrise, but there was fog. So we got some nice shot of the Jefferson Memorial with the cherry blossoms in the foreground. And what's this light? Flash. Another foggy morning beside a lake. Foreground here is nice and sharp. But then you get out to the island in the middle of the lake, and things are looking kind of washed out. And over here on the other side of the lake, you can see some trees, but boy, they're really hard to see in that fog. You know, it just wipes out your distance. It puts all of the emphasis on the foreground because the background gets so unclear. Weather, snow, ice, rain. These are the Korean War Memorial in Washington. And you've just got magnificent set of warriors covered in snow. If you're ever going to take a picture of this thing, it needs to be in snow because that's what they had to deal with in Korea in the wintertime. Snow. Snow makes for wonderful pictures. If you're going to take pictures like this, you got to watch your exposure. Your job of the camera's exposure meter is to make things look neutral gray. Your snow will come out gray and they will be black. Not good. Overexposed by a stop or two. Snow, ice, rain, curvy lines on the side of a creek. Simple picture, just a tree, one little tree, some background stuff in the fog, rain. Snow, ice, and rain. It's nap time for the geese. Everybody's sleeping except this guy. He's on duty. He's keeping a watch. He'll let you know if anybody's coming along. And these guys, they're not geese. They don't care. They're out for a walk, which have nice stories that occur in snow, ice, and rain. So water's wonderful. I think you heard in the introduction, it's about 80% of my pictures have water in them. And if I'm going to go find a park or anything like that, somebody says, where do you want to go take pictures? Where the water is. I go there first. Out in the Cascade Mountains, state of Washington, this place called Picture Lake. I wonder where it got that name. But the reflections are just beautiful coming from the mountain here. Still water gives you reflections. Still water, reflections. I went to see Mabry Mill on Blue Ridge Parkway, and the lighting was awful, just terrible. So uniform. But put the fence in the front, and who cares whether it's uniformly illuminated or not. The background is just gorgeous coming across their reflections. There it was, a different day. Mabry Mill. Timing here, decisive moment. I had to wait probably half an hour to get that picture. They weren't running it all the time. When they did run it, they ran it only for 2 or 3 cycles, and then they'd stop and do some more work and come back later. But you got to get decisive moment. Look at the curve coming around here, leading you in, separating the water from the land, coming in from the side, carrying water in. The building is at its corner, so I can see 2 sides of it all the time, always 2 sides. Water for reflections. Just rocks, water, simple picture, strong picture. And here's an exercise for the student. It's a small creek. I'm on a bridge looking down at the creek. And as I look down, the water is blue. Until you look out here, the water is gold. How can you have water change color like that? What's going on? Why is it blue here and gold there? Well, I did say it was an exercise for the students. Water flowing by is another way of dealing with water, not just for reflections. There's no reflections here, but it's a nice shot of water flowing by. I think it took first place one night at Gaithersburg Camera Club competition. You got nice foreground, certainly an interesting foreground. You got a frame over here to keep you from getting out of the picture. The rocks kind of keep you in the picture over here. Nice shape to the water, definition of the flow of the water. It's just a nice picture. It could go on somebody's wall and be enjoyed. But here's another case of water flowing by. It's not so exciting as it's just flowing by. This was late at night, way after sunset, and there's always some light around, but it was a very long exposure to get anything at all. Now here's more water flowing by. This is out in the Olympic Peninsula. A lot of it going on here. Had a lot of noise and coming by, but it's not terribly exciting either. If you want to get an exciting picture of water in motion, then find a way to see it so that you don't have to get your feet wet, but it's coming at you. Then it's much more interesting. If the water's coming at you, you get the feeling that, boy, this guy was right out in the middle of the stream. Well, he was on a rock someplace, but you can't tell. Get your water, flowing water, coming right toward you. So it looks like you're standing in the middle of it. Move. Do you want this scene of the mill with the water flowing by, or would you like this scene with the water coming right at you? I'll take the one with the water coming right at me. Water flowing by. This is the Great Falls in the wintertime, just 15 miles up the river from Washington. If you put on, it's water flowing by, it's not very exciting. But if you put on a telephoto lens, you get a very different effect. Like you're standing out in the water and here it comes. Right down out of these chutes. Boy, you're going to get your feet wet. Same place as the other photo. Just zoomed in this area. All right, another little quick break. What time is it? It's 20 after 8. We've been an hour and 20 minutes already. Anybody want to go home? I got more. This will be a real quick break.
Okay.
And it goes much faster in the last quarter.
Very fascinating. Enjoying your takes on things.
Good. I hope so.
And some beautiful places you've been.
I have been very fortunate in ability to travel. Not this year, of course, but for 10 years took me to, I think, 16 countries of Europe, 47 cities, and then over to Asia. I was in China several times, Japan several times, Korea, just all over the place. And somebody else paid the ticket for all of it. When Friday night came and everybody went home, I didn't. I stayed around and I'd go take pictures and then tell my boss, hey, you can afford to keep me in a hotel and feed me, because when you stay over Saturday night, the price drops by $1,000. So they've never complained about my staying there. It was a great opportunity.
Very nice.
All right, instead of, and move it. All right. Coming to one of the more critical segments. The good news is that you now know many of the elements that can appear in and contribute to your pictures. You've seen them. But there are other elements. Uh, some of the bad news, of course, is that the landscape photographer, your subjects and its environment are fixed. All you can do is move around someplace. You can't move the parts. The challenge then is to find the best place to put your camera. Remember, a good photograph is knowing where to stand. The solution is to move around, try different points of view, change your perspective. Remember, Ansel said it. Good photograph is knowing where to stand. Where are you going to find your best shot? Do you have to climb up something? Do you have to lay down on your belly someplace? Maybe you have to move something out of the way. You can do, I've moved garbage cans on occasion and put them back later. Didn't want them in the picture. It's okay. You remember what Robert Capa said? If your pictures aren't good enough, you're not close enough. Move. Remember the picture of the lily, calla lily. Move in close. Here's an example. You can see here a water fountain in Philadelphia. And I saw it. It's interesting. It's there. It really is. It's there. And there's a lot of foreground here, and there's streets, and there's buildings, and more buildings, and more buildings, and trees. Well, took Robert Capa's advice. I went closer. Hey, that's better. I don't have all that foreground stuff anymore, and I still got the fountain. But man, I got a lot of buildings here yet. That's a mess. Maybe I still need to get closer. Well, now all I have is the fountain, and Froggy over here, and lady over there, and water shooting up around. And over here are some people. They're sitting there on the bench, watching the fountain, chatting with one another. This is the way they're spending their afternoon. It's a real story. And I think that's one of the things that makes this picture is the story that it tells. Here's where we go for our afternoon and what we do. I love it. It's got water. But come back at night. Look at that. Whoa. Same statue. In fact, people back here on the bench still watching it. Isn't that amazing? Come back at night. I'll move around. There are other views. Yeah, look at that. Totally different view. So, Capa told us if your pictures aren't good enough, you're not close enough. But Howard Clark says, if your pictures aren't good enough, maybe you need to get farther away. How about upstairs in a hotel room in Philadelphia, looking down at the water fountain? There it is. That's the same fountain. And we see some of its surroundings. There's the art museum up here, beautiful avenue leading from the art museum to the fountain. Nice concentric circles around the water fountain, diagonals coming into it from all directions. There's a lot going on there from the higher altitude. But if you put on your telephoto lens and shoot again, look what you get. Wow, totally different view. This is nighttime now, from a different perspective. All right. Look for an unusual point of view. I bet nobody knew there was a pond under the Eiffel Tower. It's there. Got to find it, but it's there. Everybody's using pictures of the Eiffel Tower. When have you ever seen one like that? Find a different point of view. All right, same approach going to apply to all kinds of subjects. If you want to take pictures of automobiles, birds, buildings, flowers, I don't care, memorials, shore scenes, streets, waterfalls, move around. Look for the best place. There's usually more than one right answer. More than one right answer. Ever hear of DeWitt Jones? He knows that. Look at this guy. Hang on. The this landscape. Is he crazy? What's wrong with these people? Do you want to try out for angel wings or something? No. This is an effect that you get by being in the right place. Look what's next. Oh, oh. Get thee to the right place, and you have a real stand off to the side and you got a piece of junk. Isn't that amazing? That versus that. Wow. So look at these external factors we've talked about. Time of day, sunrise, sunset, golden hour, blue hour, nighttime. Try them all. Weather, snowy, sunny, rainy, foggy. Try them all. Where your location is going, where do you go take pictures? What will be your position? What kind of subject do you want to photograph? Lots of choices here. Oh, there was another break. Well, we're not going to do that one. Going to go to Pulitzer Prize winning photojournalist David Hume Kennerly. And he said, you got to think about what you're doing when you take a picture. What's the story you're trying to tell? A good picture is nice to look at every now and then, but a great picture is a story you remember. So how we get from good to great is with a story that people will remember. That's one of the ways. It may not be the only way, but that's one of the ways, a story. Let's see if we can tell stories. There are a bunch of subjective elements that will raise your photos above the pretty picture level. Does your image ask a question? I've highlighted that a couple times here. Does it tell a story? Remember the grandfather and the grandson going fishing? Does it amuse the viewer? Does it surprise him or her? Does it evoke a feeling of serenity? Let's see some examples. Where is this? What is this? Question, question, question. What's it doing? What's it for? You can spend a lot of time looking at that, trying to figure it out. That's part of its charm, is that you wonder what it is, where it is, why it is. You look at this. That's real. That's not photoshopped. That's the way the buildings are in Rennes, France. I think the ship carrying the plumbobs sank. It didn't get there. This is how they built the city. Is that a surprise? Whoa. Is this a surprise? Man, how much did I have to drink last night? Here's a surprise. Where's the sun coming from? Where are the shadows coming from? That's a mystery for the students. What is this strange thing? Where could it be? What could it be? Doesn't make any sense. Does this picture tell a story? Is everything sharp? No. Who cares? It's a family having a great time in a waterfall. You don't have to have everything sharp to tell a good story. That tell a story? Mm-hmm. Mommy, protect me, Mommy. I love you. Those people are right here. They're looking at us. Got a story here? You bet. Is this the beginning of the race or the end of the race? You can tell. You know, it tells a story. It is a race. You know that. It tells a lot. Might even recognize the street signs where they are. Oh, what's that? That doesn't tell a story. That's a mystery. What is this thing? Surprise. When's the last time you got up close and personal with an ostrich like that? Mm, another surprise. Ice on a rose? Yeah, outdoors. It's a real thing. Oh, Seattle's Space Needle never looked like that before. Hmm. Metro Center. Somebody said they never saw it look so good. Black and white helped. Take a look at the lady in the lower left corner, far left. How many things is she carrying home? My gosh. Uh, building. What's it doing there? Is that a surprise? See a building like that? Is that colors? Those tones? With a frame around it like that? Sure it is. Is this amusing to find a birdhouse in the churchyard parking lot? Is he cute or what? He makes the picture. Oh, his mommy loves him. Up close and personal. No distracting background. Ah, that's got to be serenity for you. Grab a seat on the bench here and watch the leaves float by or something. Enjoy the flowers, enjoy the quiet, hear the birds. Sit in the rocking chair, look out over the garden, watch the birds, butterflies. That's serenity. That's a story. All right, this is the last piece. We'll look at a couple of prize winners and see what elements might have contributed to their success. Normally, I'm doing this where everybody is connected and can talk and speak up. That is not the capability here. So I'll just run through these and ask each of you to think on your own what are some of the elements that contributed to the success of these pictures? Oh, right there. There we go. All right. In calls for submissions to the 2019 Landscape Photo Contest Outdoor Photography Magazine, wanted to tell you what they're looking for in the images. They want to find evidence that have a unique perspective. They want to see that you've timed your shoot for dramatic light and that you have framed the scenery creatively. And of course, they realize that post-processing can have something to do with all of this. But this is what they're looking for when they are going to judge the landscape photography contest. Unique perspective, timing, dramatic light, and framing the scenery creatively. How about that one? You ever seen a picture as good as this before? Man, I love it, and it ain't mine. First time I saw that, I wrote to the guy. I had to find out where he lived, what his email address was. I found it, and I wrote to him, told him how much I loved his picture. Look at the lighting on here, the depth in the picture. The focus is everything in focus. Gorgeous lighting. I've been up there a lot of times, but I've never found this perspective. Fog, good lighting, good exposure, nice placement, and a perspective unlike any I've ever seen. Simplicity. I was over there, but I was there in the middle of the afternoon. I didn't get any pictures like this. Fantastic view of Machu Picchu. This is done from down in the valley instead of from up on top of the mountain. And he's got diagonals, diagonals, diagonals leading you all the way up to that mountain. You follow you know you can follow your way and get there. All these paths that take you there. All right, conclusion. We're really at the end. What combination of elements will make a great picture? We've seen a lot of elements, but which ones make the great picture? Well, somebody asked John Sarkowski that question. He was former director of photography at the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. Who should know better than what it takes to make a good picture than the director of the Museum of Modern Art photography? Here's what he said. At times when the process of photography seems to be invested in magic, what it is that makes a good photograph truly work, it's a mystery. So, no secret formula, no silver bullet. You've got the tools, go use them. Then turn around, change your point of view, and make another great one. It's right behind you. We're finished. How do we get out of here? Let me out of the box. There we go. Out of there.
Go back to Howard. Go back to our conference software, and then you're going to click on that share your screen button again.
There we go. Hey, I see you.
Okay, thank you. We do have we'll be taking more questions for Howard now. So we have one. Paul asks, how do you motivate yourself to get up early or stay late for a shot?
I can stay late with no trouble at all. I'm a night person. I often don't go to bed till 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning. So staying late is not an issue for me. Getting up is a serious issue, especially if you're on a vacation or something like that when other people are involved. You know, there's my wife along with me. Does she want to get up at 5 o'clock and go off to take pictures? No, not at all. So you have to make compromises, and a lot of times the compromise is I don't do sunrises. It's a shame. I wish I had more. Yeah, I wish I would do it more often. I don't. You know, this was the weather forecast last night. They said it's going to be great fog all night long. We had really cold weather just above freezing. The air is full of moisture. There's going to be fantastic fog. Did I get up at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock to go take pictures? No, I went to bed at 2 o'clock. I wasn't going to get up. Sorry, I can't answer that one for you.
Okay. I put out a last call for questions, and if we don't get any, then we do have Elaine says that she really enjoyed your presentation. Fred said thank you very much.
All right.
And Julie says, great presentation. Thank you, Howard.
Well, I enjoy doing it, that's for sure. Sometimes I get a little too long. What do we take? Oh gosh, almost well over an hour and a half. Somehow I have to cut out some
Where
slides.
where can we find you and look up more of your photography?
There's a web page, hclarkphotography.com.
Okay, we will copy that into our comment
Yeah,
section.
it isn't very much up to date. I'm, I spent 7 hours running to weekend art shows and creating pictures to take to weekend art shows and put on exhibit. So I was totally consumed with the the business of photography as opposed to taking pictures. And then after a while, I realized that's not a good business to be in. So we've stopped it. I have 180 pictures that are framed and trying to find somewhere to give them away. I can't do it. Nobody wants 180 pictures right now. Uh, After that, I said, okay, the art shows are not working. I'm going to be an exhibiting photographer. So I got hard at getting into galleries and was very successful at getting into galleries. But in the course of 2019, I sold 4 pictures. How about that? Maybe
Nice.
$200 worth of pictures. Uh, no, you can't sell photography. So, but because of all of that activity, I was not able to maintain the web page the way I'd like it to be. So it's not very much up to date. Uh, I don't do Facebook except with Gaithersburg Camera Club and Frederick Camera Clique. I'm have Fred on their web pages, but that's all for Facebook.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming and joining us tonight. I would like to remind everyone to join us next week on February 3rd for our talk on our photo assignment for January, which was resolutions. And Julie asked, do you print your own photos?
Absolutely. I certainly got into that habit when I was doing the art shows and for galleries. So I have very high quality printer and papers, and I got probably 50 frames that are waiting for a picture to put up on a wall. But I don't have any place to show them now. There are no art fairs, and I wouldn't go if there were. Galleries are pretty much out of the business right now. The only things most galleries are doing is virtual, although I did have pictures recently at Delaplane, and I have a show coming up in March uh, at Brookside Gardens, solo show there. Uh, yes, I do print, but right now I got 180 prints that I'm trying to find a home for. No much reason for making more prints because I've already got 180. So sitting right behind me is a storage rack which has over 100 sheets of 32-inch by 40-inch mat board of all colors, and I don't have anything to do with it. No place to go. I got a great printer, and I don't have any reason to print. It's if I go into a gallery, I'll take one of the 180 pictures I already have instead of making a new one. Disappointing. Is instead of trying to do the galleries and the art shows, I enjoyed doing talks for camera clubs and other groups. I used to do a lot of that. I decided maybe it would make sense to try teaching. So I am now on this faculty at Frederick Community College, and I'm teaching 4 courses there throughout the fall and spring semesters. And in summertime coming up, I'm going to do 3 field shoots in Frederick County. It's not very handy for any of you folks. But if you wanted to learn about the courses that I have through Frederick Community College, they're all done over the internet, and I'd be happy to give you the schedule for that. I can send that to you tonight.
Okay, thank you very much. If you share that with me, I'll share it with the group.
Very good.
And Ron says, thank you for your well illustrated presentation.
Okay. Appreciate that, Ron. Thank you. It's a lot of fun for me. It really is.
You have a lot of knowledge to share, and it's always good to have it shared. But thank you very much for your presentation tonight, and we will see everyone next week at 7 p.m. for our photo assignment talk. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.
Night all.